one of the things that consumers that we hate is inauthenticity. And we don't like to be confused, and we don't like when you change it up and switch it up, like be who you're going to be. And I feel like Macy's is just doing too much. And
even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never ran, said no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Hello, my darlings, it's Dean. Welcome back to another video. Today's fashion chat is going to be a continuation of the discussion that we held last week on Macy's. Okay, and so I've been toying with the name or topic fashion chat because I feel like some of the conversations lean towards fashion and design, and others lead towards retailing and merchandising, of which I am a former retailing and merchandising professor. So let me know in the comment section, what should we call it? I feel like fashion chat is all encompassing because not many people are thinking about retailing and merchandising. So, you know, we'll bring you guys in with fashion chat, but end up in retail. It all works, but let me know as far as what we want to call it. So that being said, we're going to jump right into today's topic, which is going to be Macy's Backstage versus Dillard's Clearance Center. And so what I really want to do is look at the two different business models. And as I was thinking and plotting and writing, we talked about, why do I have so many notebooks? Because I'm always writing, I'm always thinking, I'm always reading and getting inspired. So that being said, as I was reading and writing and jotting down notes regarding the Dillard's Clearance Center, I thought about Nordstrom Rack and their business model, because they have Nordstrom Rack, and then Nordstrom Last Chance, which I feel is very close to the Dillard's Clearance Center, if not an extension. Sorry, the British comes out sometimes, darlings. An extension of what the Dillard's Clearance Center is doing. Anyway, so let's jump right into it. So last week, or the week before, was it last week, we discussed Macy's having to close 150 stores, right? And so we came up with a few thoughts of what they could do to possibly get their mojo back and get their stake in the marketplace, and just regain who they were as a brand in the 80s, in the 90s. We discussed them doing a takeover as Federated and, you know, going throughout the country and changing names of stores. We talked about all of that. And so the one area that I want to talk about is Backstage, because we listen, I have shared my disdain. It's not disdain because it has its purpose, but I question the validity of and the decision to have a Backstage when so many other stores are doing it better, right? And so for those of you that don't know, and I apologize, as I was writing this, I was like, I really need to get the numbers on how many Macy's Backstage stores there actually are. So I will have that for the next video if there is another continuation. But Macy's Backstage is basically their answer to off-price retailers, right? So in the last episode of the last fashion chat, we talked about off-price retailers being a threat to Macy's and taking up market share, and that being one of the reasons why they are losing a lot of business is because a lot of individuals are now going to a TJ Maxx, to a Ross, to a Marshalls, and so their answer to that was, oh, we'll just open our own. Well, for me, it doesn't, to me, if you can't beat them, join them. To me, it does not work in this space. Number one, because Macy's is such a huge entity and they have so much merchandise. And with them having so much merchandise, they also have a lot of clearance. And so, think about that, right? They have such a large amount of clearance, which is why, again, we're going to start talking about Dillard's Clearance Center, right? So they have such a huge amount of clearance to not really maximize the square footage of a store and to give that store space into something else, to me, just makes no sense. And if you come from retail, those of us that come from retail know that every inch, I would say every square foot, but every inch of a store needs to be making money. And so to put money into Backstage, because remember, if you have Backstage, you have Backstage merchants, right? You have Backstage buyers. You have individuals that are working only on Backstage, from the buying office all the way into the stores, the shipping, the buyers, the planners. They probably have a whole department just centered around Backstage. That's money that could be put into developing their private label, which we talked about last week. They have Style & Co., International Concepts, On the Fifth, Nina Parker. I'm sure some more will come up as Charter Club. They have so much private label. If they were just to take that energy and put it into their own brand, I feel like it would just make much more sense. And as far as square footage is concerned, they have so much clearance that is literally taking up space of full price merchandise. Because when we went to the Macy's in Aventura, I showed you what the clearance section looked like, and it's taking up space of full price merchandise. Like, that stuff needs to be moved so the people who want to, you know, shop full price can get the full price and get the full assortment. So that being said, I just feel like there are other stores that do what Backstage is trying to do so much better that it doesn't make sense. Anyway, let me get to my notes, because I did make notes, because I will ramble on. You hear me? Professor Dean is in the building. So there's one of my qualms, my beefs, we talked about, right? A waste of square footage. I personally think it's a waste of square footage. I think that square footage could be dedicated to other things. I want to say that in Aventura, that space was probably furniture, and they probably discontinued furniture and needed to put that stuff. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. But for me, I feel like they need to take all of that last act clearance and put it in Backstage. That's what I think. I don't think that Backstage is clearly defined for the consumer. If you're in a market where you have a separate brick and mortar that is a Macy's Backstage, to me, okay, I get it. But to have Backstage on the 3rd floor, which is where I've seen it here in South Florida, I don't think the customer's aware of what Backstage is. And I don't think the customer knows, he or she knows, the difference between last act clearance and Macy's Backstage. Because when I was first introduced to the product, I thought that Backstage was where all of the Macy's clearance was going. So I would walk into the store and ask for last act, and they'd be like, oh, last act is over there. It's over there. It's over there. And I'm like, but I thought Macy's was opening like a clearance type Marshall's situation. They're like, oh, Backstage. And I was like, well, what's the difference? Right? So I don't think it's clearly defined for the consumer. And then the other part of that is Macy's last act clearance is cheaper than Macy's Backstage, which totally negates the whole point of having a Backstage, right? Because the person who is shopping the off-price retailer is looking to find whatever item they're looking for at a discount, right? Whether it's jewelry, whether it's a Marc Jacobs bag, a Michael Kors bag, whether it's Italian leather, whatever the furniture, whatever they're looking for, they're going to the off-price retailer to get the best price. So now you, as a Macy's, your best price is at last act, not Backstage, right? To me, it just doesn't make sense. You've seen the bar. Listen, $5 this, $5 that, $10 this. That's all been last act. I went to Backstage. I didn't find anything below $30. So it was just like, And the items that they were selling were not found on the actual Macy's floor. Again, they're hiring buyers to buy those items. You already have clearance. You already have items. You don't need to go out and buy other items. So again, to me, to me, that's why Backstage is not effective in this space. I just feel like other people are doing it better, number one. Number two, they have private label that they really need to work on and develop, and stop starting new ones and just stay with the ones that you have, but just make them so much better. And number three, your pricing is off. Last act clearance is cheaper than Macy's Backstage, which to me negates the whole point of having an off price retailing entity to your business. So now let's move into Dillard's, the crown jewel. Now I really should have got the numbers. I apologize. I don't know how many Macy's doors there are to Dillard's. I'm pretty sure Dillard's is like 1/10, 1/5 possibly of Macy's doors. Meaning there's probably one Dillard's to like every 5 Macy's. I don't know. I want to say that we have Galleria, Dillard's Galleria, Dillard's Coral Square, Broward Mall doesn't have one. I'm thinking about Broward. I'm not sure about Dade. If you guys have Dillard's in Dade, let me know. I know you guys have Dillard's in West Palm because the Dillard's Clearance Center is in West Palm. But there are not as many Dillards as there are Macy's. And I want to say that Dillard's is a Southern department store, like a Belk. Let me know in the comment section if you have a Dillard's, a Belk, like those kind of stores, how many you have versus Macy's. So for me, the Dillard's pipeline is chef's kiss. I really feel like they're wise. I feel like they've really thought about it. And not to say that Macy's hasn't. I'm not at the corporate office. I don't know at that level what they're thinking. But for me, to have a Dillard's and then have a Dillard's clearance center makes so much sense because you already own that merchandise. You don't have to hire buyers. You don't have to take up square footage. You don't have to do anything other but get the merch from your stores, right, to the clearance center, which I feel like are regional. I want to say that maybe each state has one. Again, I did not do my research on that. That's my bad on that. Where's my, Riley probably has my my iPad. But that being said, I love the pipeline. Number one, again, they own the merchandise. Number two, there's a lot of private label at Dillard's Clearance Center. Private label for a department store is at minimal cost than if they were to go out and buy something, right? And I do not know what that cost is, but they own that merchandise and they own private label. So you're taking private label from your store and taking it to a clearance center, which is your own, and selling your own. You're not having to do markdown money. You're not having to, go to market and talk to vendors. You do have to go overseas, of course, and source materials, but it's your own stuff, right? And third, they own that real estate. So the Dillard's Clearance Center, again, if you have a Dillard's Clearance Center in your area or you've been to one, the Dillard's Clearance Center here is in an old Dillard's, and they own, most likely, because just like Macy's, these places own that real estate. So they don't have to pay rent. It's their building. So they're taking their merchandise from their warehouses, putting it on their trucks, right? And who knows if they own like all the aspects of the supply chain, but they're taking their merchandise and putting it in their store that they own. How friggin' like, yes, that's the way you do it. So again, as the retail, I'm like, yes. So here I have the private label is stronger than Macy's. I'm sorry. I just feel like it is. I feel like it is. Now, clothing wise, as far as Plus is concerned, I took you to Dillard's Clearance Center and it wasn't private label. Well, some of it was private label. Let me not say that. But they did have a lot of Vince Camuto. They did have Michael Kors, and the smaller size brands, and even in the men's, they do have other brands. But again, a lot of it was their private label. And again, I put selling their own merchandise, what they already own. They don't have to beg and cry out for markdown money because it's their stuff, right? They don't need another buying team. And again, they already own that real estate. Another part of that is brand identity. With having a Dillard's and then having a Dillard's Clearance Center, they are owning that space. And because they have so much private label, the customer is aware that when they go to the Dillard's Clearance Center, it is the Dillard's Clearance Center. It is all Dillard's clearance, to the point where when you look at a shoe, when you look at a bag, or when you look at a dress or whatever, it has that same clearance tag on it. Like it literally came from Dillard's clearance to the Dillard's Clearance Center. Whereas when you go to a Macy's Backstage, I don't know if you've noticed it, but they have a totally different label. So you're like, okay, which is different than the last stacked clearance labels, right? All right, so have I convinced you? No, there's no convincing here. It's just things that I'm noticing that could be done better, right? Or just be authentic to your consumer. And you guys know I study consumer behavior at the graduate level. And one of the things that consumers that we hate is inauthenticity. And we don't like to be confused, and we don't like when you change it up and switch it up, like be who you're going to be. And I feel like Macy's is just doing too much. And I love Macy's, you guys. I told you in the last video, like I just want them to do well so bad. I was trained under Macy's, but I feel like in trying to do so much, they're not doing anything, because you can go to a TJ Maxx and get the same thing for less, right? You'll buy something on a Friday at Macy's, and then it's 50% off, or they have a coupon the next Friday. You're like, wait a minute, I just paid. Well, who's paying full price at Macy's? That's a lot. But strong brand identity. Now, Nordstrom Rack, and let me know, do we need to dive deep? I don't think we need to dive deep because they were kind of set in stone, right? Nordstrom, the pipeline, not set in stone, but the pipeline is clear, right? Nordstrom Rack, Nordstrom Last Chance, which I believe there are only two. I've done multiple videos. I will leave one up here. Nordstrom Last Chance is in Lombard, Illinois. When's the last time I went to Lombard? Or to, the last time I went to Chicago. 2021. I'm due a trip. I'm coming Chicago. Y'all know Chicago has my heart. So there are numerous Nordstrom racks. I would love to know the numbers of, and maybe that's for the next video, how many Nordstrom versus Nordstrom Rack versus Nordstrom Last Chance. There were two Nordstrom Last Chance that I know. One in Arizona, I think, and then the one that I talked about in Lombard, out in a Chicago suburb. So you have Nordstrom, which is the mainline store. And what used to happen, I don't know what has happened to Nordstrom Rack over the years. I remember Nordstrom Rack used to be the lick, okay? I've done a penny video where I found my penny Jimmy Choos. I'm going to leave a link to that too. Nordstrom Rack used to be so fly. This is 2000 and, dog, I got my master's. That is crazy, 15 years ago. Wow. 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. Nordstrom Rack, Chicago Avenue. And the one on State Street, y'all. I killed that store. My Chicagoans know. That Nordstrom Rack on State, if y'all have gone to the Nordstrom Rack on Chicago Avenue, let me know how it is. Please let me know in the comment section. Or go take a picture and tag me, because I'm itching. That used to be my store, okay? I went to Loyola, that's at the water tower, because that's where the education building is. And let me tell you something. I would get there, I would leave, because I used to be a college and career counselor on the south side. And I would drive at the end of school, go to class, but class didn't start till like 5, 6. Park our cars, me and my girlfriends, park our cars, go to Nordstrom Rack, hit up Nordstrom Rack, hit up Bloomingdale's, get some soup. I don't even know if that soup place is there anymore. Anyway, Nordstrom Rack, I'm reminiscing. Nordstrom Rack, it used to be, go to the Nordstrom right there on Michigan Avenue. It used to be the lick. Now, all of a sudden, Nordstrom Rack is like sourcing items, just like Macy's Backstage is sourcing items that you can only find at Nordstrom Rack, kind of like their private label. And I feel like the quality has just, it's not it for me. I have to go to like specific ones, like the Nordstrom Rack Boca. I love, like that's my number one. The one in West Palm at the Tanger Outlets, that one's really good. You saw I got my loafers at the one in Fort Lauderdale, but it's very like spotty. Whereas there was a time when you'd go to Nordstrom Rack and every time you went, you were going to find something, right? So I think they've kind of fallen off in that sense, but the pipeline is still very clear. There's Nordstrom, and then when items are reduced, then they go to the rack, and then from the rack, when they're reduced, they get sent off to Last Chance. Okay, so the pipeline is very clear. I feel like the consumer knows that. The consumer may be a little confused at the quality of items that are at the rack, because they're like, wait a minute, I didn't see this at Nordstrom. But again, you know, if you see a Kurt Geiger, that's the brand that I love to get at a Nordstrom Rack. You find that brand at Nordstrom, or you find a bag at Nordstrom where there's Kurt Geiger, Rebecca Minkoff, Marc Jacobs. These are items that you will see on the sales floor. Tory Burch, you'll see it on the sales floor, and then 6 months, a year later, 3 months later, you'll see it at Nordstrom Rack, and then time after that, you'll see it at a Nordstrom Last Chance. I feel like the consumer knows that. There's no confusion with that, right? And again, the consumer likes that. We do not like to be confused, and we do not like inauthenticity. That will make us leave a brand quick, fast, in a hurry. Now, where Nordstrom Rack, I feel like, has done it right and correctly is online. I feel like their online presence is better than both Macy's and Dillard's. I feel like Nordstrom Rack, like there is no Dillard's clearancecenter.com. Ooh, I need to find that domain. Do I need to buy that? Businesswoman in me. But the Nordstrom Rack online presence is really, really strong. It's really easy to navigate, just like the Nordstrom website is really easy to navigate. So I feel like they're winning on that end. But as far as the pipeline is concerned, and then also here, I put that like Macy's Backstage, they have most likely probably a buying team for the rack, whereas I don't know if they have a buying team for Dillard's Clearance Center. I don't know who handles that transition from Dillard's Clearance to the Dillard's Clearance Center. And there could be items that they are buying for the Dillard's Clearance Center, but we will never know. We would never know because it's so seamless. Their pipeline is so seamless. Anyway, that's class for today. It's just me jotting down notes and really thinking about who does it better. As a store, retail is tough right now. It's tough for a lot of merchants, and I feel like the merchants who get it, the retailers who get it, the retailers who get it, and the retailers who understand consumer behavior get it. Just as I tell my students, you know, I used to work with design students. I was the business side of fashion, and I would tell my design students all the time, you got to get in the stores. Like, I know, you know, a lot of creatives, they're introverts, right? And I would say you have to do some personal shopping. You got to work retail. You got to understand the consumer, because if you do not understand consumer behavior, you will never be able to design for them, because you have no idea what their wants, needs, and desires are, how they live their day, how they move, where are they wearing your clothes, and how are they wearing your clothes. If you don't know that, you can't design for them. And so same with Macy's, Dillard's, Nordstrom. If you don't know how your consumer is buying, how they're shopping, and what they're shopping for, you can't sell to them. You'll fail. So, you know, I think there are some clear winners out here, and you know, based on these closures, these store closures, there are some definite losers. So let me know in the comment section below. I enjoy creating this content for you, and I hope that you enjoy this content. Some of you have said you love getting this content, so I love giving it. So let me know in the comment section what you think. Macy's, Dillard's, or Nordstrom? Which one are you shopping? Or maybe it's a TJ Maxx. I can't leave TJ Maxx alone. I just can't. Have a great day, my darlings, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.
Go, go.